Awesome. So again, I'm Jerome Braggs, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive medium. And today's conversation is going to be on why life gets way more delicious once we embrace our flaws, once we begin to celebrate the wholeness of us, no matter what it looks like, no matter what type of flaw it is, whether it's a character flaw, quote unquote flaw, whether it's a personality, whether it's a physical or something of that, or an emotional. So I want to first talk to you about why this particular thing is important to me and how this even came up. So last weekend I had an event in Oklahoma City, which is where I live. I had an event with a joint event with a fellow spiritual teacher and psychic medium, and he came and he came and stayed at my house, and it was our first time actually meeting in person. We had talked over the phone, we have talked on Skype many times. For a few years we've known each other, and we decided we wanted to come together and work together. We wanted to offer our services together to serve the community at large. And we were really excited about this. And it wasn't until probably about 2 days before he came that I saw a picture of him or a video of him on the internet. And I saw in that picture that he was in a wheelchair. And I kind of reached out to him and I asked him, wow, I didn't know you were in a wheelchair. And he told me, yeah, sometimes, I usually walk with the cane, but sometimes if I have large amounts of walking, then I have to get into the wheelchair. And so I didn't think anything else about it. I thought, oh, okay, sometimes he'll need a wheelchair. And so I want to make sure when he comes, he doesn't have to do a lot of walking. But I was still planning like we were going to do some setting up the room together, moving some things around together and all of that. And so I was excited for not just to have him so that we could do this event, but to get to know him and see where his life was going. And when I came to pick him up from the airport, I noticed that it was a little bit more, his walking was a little bit more labored than I was expecting. And that he hadn't necessarily, although there was a feeling I had that he hadn't necessarily been fully transparent with everything that involved him and everything that was going on. And as the weekend went along, there was one night where we were talking about, as we do, we were building our relationship and really finding out we had a lot in common and becoming really good friends. And there was a lot of laughs. And one day, we were talking about, our dating. How our dating lives are going, and are we interested in anybody? Are we seeing anybody? Are we dating anybody? And at that time, he was literally messaging somebody that he was interested in that was at a time they had been talking for a while. And I could tell in his energy field, he was really scared. He was having some trepidation around this conversation he was having with this person. I kind of asked him what was going on. And he said, he was getting ready to go visit this person. And in the middle of, him having this conversation to kind of solidify plans, he was really, really scared because he did not want the person to reject him because of the situation that he was in as far as having, I think, cerebral palsy, which he found out that he had, and which not he found out he had, but I had just found out that he had, and which I was talking about the reason why it kind of affected his walking. And so in the very moment of that, he was saying he was very afraid to share that with the individual he was getting ready to meet, to tell him, because he thought that if he revealed that to the person he was interested in, they would lose interest, like they would reject him. And it was a huge kind of like aha moment for me, because I am very familiar with the path. And I'll tell you my own personal story here in a minute. But I want to tell you why I chose to talk about this topic for my first blab, because this was such a visceral moment. It's such a very new moment because it just happened just a few days ago. And I kind of turned to him and I said, hey, you need to be very transparent and very truthful and honor yourself with this person. If this is somebody you're really interested in and you want to pursue something with them, not only do they deserve your full honesty and your full forthrightness as you deal with them, but you deserve to feel like there's nothing wrong with you in your interaction with them. That if you have a scar or a wound, or because, if you walk differently or you need to use a wheelchair, it doesn't make you unlovable. It doesn't make you unlovable. And so it's not something to hide from anybody, because it's a part of you. It's going to be a part of you that not only are they going to see it when they when they pick you up from the airport, but it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to hide. Anytime you go somewhere, anytime you walk somewhere, it's going to be very evident. And if you do that, if you've hidden that, then the person can often feel like you lied to them. And they can disconnect just from that. And so we had this conversation around hiding flaws, around like hiding our flaws and feeling like something about who we are, where we are, just as we are, is not enough, makes us unlovable and undesirable somehow. And we really went into this conversation, and I brought up this very thing because that was a very wound that I went through. That was a huge wound in the past of my life. So for those of you who are very new to me and that you don't know, probably it's the first time you've ever heard of me or you've ever seen me, part of my story is in 2004, a team of doctors gave me 7 days to live. I had checked into the hospital with what I thought was the flu. And after the doctors ran the test, they came with like a team of doctors around my hospital bed in the emergency room. And they said I had about 7 days to live. They diagnosed me with kidney failure, pneumonia, pancreatitis, anemia, 7 pounds of fluid fluid in my lung, about 7 to 10 pounds of fluid on my body, extra fluid on my body, a parasite in my stomach. And if that wasn't delicious enough, they diagnosed me with AIDS. And they said that entire situation had progressed to a point where they didn't think they were going to be able to help me. So on my deathbed, I kind of had this kind of, wake-up call moment where I had to look at, was I really ready to die? Had I lived the life that I wanted to live? Had I, done what I wanted to do? Because I was faced with, here I was in about 7 days, I was getting ready to die. And I realized that I didn't want to die. I had not really fulfilled my dreams. I wasn't being who I really wanted to be. I wasn't fully, in my beingness in my life. And so I made a decision at that moment that I wasn't going to die. And I was already a student of like mind, body, spirit connection by that time. I was, this was 2004. I had been studying that for several years. I believed that I was a spiritual being having a human experience, so I wasn't scared of death. And I believed that I could, create my reality. But I was horrified, although I wasn't scared of death, I was horrified that I was getting ready to pass this one life that I had been given in this body, not having really lived it. And although I believed that we could create our realities, I had been studying the law of attraction books and all that good stuff. I had been using that kind of information to like get $5 to eat when, I was broke, or to get a parking space in front of the mall when I was running late for the movies. And so if that was really real, it had to be real now. Like, you had to create, if I could create whatever I wanted, I need to create a miracle. So I threw everything that I knew about the law of attraction at this situation. I threw everything I knew about creation. I threw everything I knew about spiritual being. I was a vegan. I did a vegan diet. I meditated every day. I visualized every day. I created positive energy bubbles around myself, meaning that if you came within five feet of me, you had to speak only positive things to me. I did the gratitude journal. I mean, just anything, anybody, anywhere said about any kind of way that you can create your life, I put that into practice. And so 3 months after that, I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for a month. 2 months after I got out of the hospital, I was fully recovered. My kidneys were back fully functional. There was no pneumonia or anything in my body, and they couldn't find any traces of HIV or AIDS anywhere in my body. It was like a miraculous recovery. And life was really, really good. I really believed, oh my God, there's nothing impossible. You can create anything that you want. You can heal anything. Until I found myself back in that same hospital, in that same hospital bed with the exact same team of doctors just a year and a half later. And this time, instead of a week to live, I had 48 hours to live. And so on my deathbed this time, I knew that if I was experiencing the exact same diagnosis, like everything to the T, kidney failure, pneumonia, anemia, pancreatitis, fluid packed lung, all that. If I was back in the hospital with that exact same readout, that my body was trying to send me a message, that it was my soul's way of sending a message through my body, and I was trying really hard through my life not to listen to it. So I asked on my deathbed, I said, okay, instead of kind of doing the life review, I wanted to say, like, what has my soul been trying to get me to know? What has my soul been trying to get me to understand about how I'm living and about my life that I've been trying really hard not to? And I put a prayer out there and I said, I really want to learn how to live really well and not survive anymore. And whatever I need to know, please speak to me. That's when I had a near-death experience. I'm trying to make this as short as possible because it's kind of a long story. But I had a near-death experience where a little different from most people's near-death experience who actually cross over to the other side. Mine happened while I was on the side. And the room got really light, like the brightest light that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it got really dark at the same time, like the darkest dark I've ever seen. And I began to feel at one with everything. Like I couldn't tell anymore where the wall in my hospital room stopped and where my hand, started. I couldn't, everything felt like it was me. Like even the hospital drip into my IV, even the beeping of the hospital stuff felt like it was me. And when I got to that period of feeling oneness, there was a feeling of absolutely being loved. Like every aspect of everything that I was totally okay. It was totally loved. It was totally enough. And I was one with everything. And when I began to feel that, I heard this voice. And I knew immediately when I heard the voice that it was the voice of God, what I call God, which is, people call the universe, they call it source. But at the same time, it sounded like me, but it sounded like the me that wasn't freaking out. And I remember this like it was just yesterday. I remember the conversation that ensued as soon as that voice spoke, and it said, "Beloved, you know a lot about creating, manifesting something. You know how to push things into being. You know how to visualize. You know how to vision board. You know how to make something happen, but you don't know shit about how to let something happen. You don't know anything about how to let life be really good to you without all that effort." And that's about, you ask about how do you live really, really well? Like, what's the key to living really, really well? Well, that key is to learn how to love yourself fully, deeply, and unconditionally. You don't know anything about that yet, but you're going to learn. And then after it said you're going to learn, the room went back to kind of like I was in Jerome's body, and the light was back to that hospital light that just blares in your eyeballs. And I could hear the beeping, and I knew that was something separate from me. And I knew at that moment that I had the great wake-up call, like that this was my spiritual wake-up call. Like either I was going to wake up or, I was going to die. And I had been given the key to waking up, to switching my entire life around. And that was to learn to love myself. Now, I didn't know shit about that, loves. And I see all of you all in questions here. And I'm going to get to some of your questions and comments in just a second. But I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about loving yourself. I think I was like most of us are that say, yeah, I love myself because look at me, I'm attractive and all of that. But in truth, I felt fat. I felt, like something was wrong with me because I was a gay man. I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like I was a failure. I hadn't achieved my dreams. And so in truth, I did not love myself. And I didn't actually know how to go about that, like what that actually took. And so, but I made a decision. I was going to take the spiritual journey into learning how to do that. Like I knew it had to be a soul deep dive, that it couldn't be a surface quick fix. This was going to be a deep dive. And I made the commitment that I was going to learn how to live really, really well, and that I was going to take the path of loving myself to do that. And that journey was a 10-year journey. That was a 10-year journey. It was 10 years for me because I was really stubborn and I had a lot of crap to get out of my heart and to get out of my energy field. But I learned in that journey, I learned there were a lot of mystical experiences, life experiences, hardships, challenges. My entire life transformed because of what I learned about how to love myself. And not only did my body heal again, miraculously, again, there was, kidneys well and all that good stuff and no HIV or AIDS in my system, but my life healed. Like I live today a really juicy, delicious life that I could have never even dreamed back then. I would have never, this Jerome today would not even be able to recognize who that Jerome was. So one of the key aspects to that, though, the key aspects to my healing and to me learning how to love myself was learning how to embrace exactly how I looked physically and learning how to embrace all of the things that I was perceiving as a flaw. Now, as part of this journey, I was on dialysis for 10 of those, that whole time, by the way, you guys. And so as part of being on dialysis, I had like over 30 surgeries. If you can see, just like I have many scars here. Like this is where they used to have catheters that they put in my chest that goes all the way to my heart. And that at that time, I was so ashamed of myself at that point in time when I had these catheters in my chest. Because I felt like, one, I felt that they made me unattractive. The voice that was in my head was, who would want me with something hanging out of my chest? Who would even want that? Who would even want this guy? And I also felt like being ill made me somehow less of a person, that it made me less of being about somebody. And so there was a huge hump that I had to get over. And not just these scars here, but there's another, if you can see on my arm here, I don't know if you can see it, but there was a lot of surgeries I had to have on my arm as well as part of dialysis. And again, it just deepened my feeling of not being enough. And one day I was in the mirror and I've done, I'm a spiritual teacher, right? So I was doing all this. I was doing the mirror work. I was doing all that good stuff. And one day I was in I see some of you. I see Regeneration LBC, waking up spiritually. Absolutely. Self-love, love yourself first. Absolutely. Leo Brown, that's me stubborn all day long. Trust me, I had a PhD in being stubborn. Yes, love, this is the power of God. I see all of you about to surrender, all that good stuff. I'm going to get to some of your questions here in a minute, even open the seat up so one of you all can talk. But it was this period of, I was in the mirror one day and I just, I was the person that used to be in the mirror and say, oh, you'll be really attractive once you lose 10 pounds. I was never enough. I was never like attractive enough. Like, I don't care if I had a 6-pack, it'd have been like, if I just get that 8-pack, then people were really like me. Right. And so I was always pulling at my clothes. I couldn't stand looking at myself in the mirror, almost doing like that when I was in the mirror, hiding my scars. So I showed you my arm scar, right? And so what I used to do was I would always wear long sleeves because I did not want people to see that. I would always wear them. Even when I would date somebody and I would spend the night at their house, I would never take my shirt off. I would literally always wear long sleeves because I thought that if they saw that scar, not only would they want to talk to me about it, but they would say, ugh, oh my God, I don't want him. Oh, you're not perfect. Right? There's that disease of perfection, like always thinking we need something about us needs to be perfected. So that's kind of why this thing was really important to me, because it wasn't, my healing didn't start to come, like my body didn't start to get better until my heart started to get better around myself and what I accepted about me. So I'm going to open this up to some of your questions. I'm going to talk to you about this because I really want to hear what some of you all have said. I see some awesome comments over here. But before we start, I want to read to you the definition of flaw. Because like I told you, my flaws literally paralyzed me. They kept me from showing up in relationships. They kept me from showing up. Like I literally wouldn't even tell people. Maybe my closest friends, the people that would like die for me, they didn't even know I was on dialysis or that I was HIV positive at that time. Because again, that was a flaw that would make me unlovable. So I want to read to you the definition of flaw, and I want to see how many of you resonate with this. Because I actually don't like the word flaw. That's why I kept doing, quotation marks. Because the Webster definition of flaw is a mark, fault, or other imperfection that mars a substance or object. So that's kind of like, I'll take a mark that kind of mars you. I'll take that definition. But this is the definition that I think most people, when they say flaw or they say like I have a flaw, this is the definition that we most likely, we usually hold to. And that's the verb definition of flaw, like to flaw something. And that means to mar, weaken, or invalidate something. And I don't know if you're out there, but I raise my hand for that because I totally resonate with feeling like something either character-wise or body-wise that I have that's not perfect has weakened me in some way. That's what I've been talking about. Like I was less of a person, or that it invalidated me. It invalidated me from being able to receive love or be loved or looked at as beautiful. So I want to kind of read some of your comments because you all are going crazy. And I want to, this is my first blab, by the way, everybody. So I'm trying to work this all in. Yes, so like the real Leo Brown is saying, yes, welcome, Leo. Oh my God, this is kind of you all. Hopefully Leo can talk because this story involves him. Yes, my freedom is not going anywhere. Trust it. NH for real says acceptance, revelation, and authenticity are keys to seeing God. Indeed, they are. They are. They are. Thank you, Regeneration LBC. Happy for you. It was a long journey, love. It was not easy, but I am glad that I took it. Oh, yes, there's so much good stuff that you are putting out there. Yes, yes, yes. My flaws make me real and so more relatable to others. That's what we're going to talk about here in a minute. When you begin to embrace your flaws, you begin to see that not only does life open up more for you, but it's actually what I have found is when we begin to embrace our flaws, they stop being flaws and they start being our superpowers. The very things that were the most wounds for me emotionally, now they're like literally the thing people come to me for. They're literally the thing people want to talk to me for. They want to have me on interviews on TV. That's why clients want to work with me. The very things I used to hide and be ashamed of, like my scars, my sexuality, dealing with disease and illness, are the very things that are at the core of my success today. So indeed, embracing the flaws is everything, loves. Oh, wow. Congratulations, teaming Ooey or teaming Gooey. Congratulations on your first blab, and thank you for being here on my first one. So I want to see if any of you all have anything that you want to say or that you have a journey around flaws. Again, I'm not asking that you have already healed emotionally or spiritually from your journey. You can still be in the midst of your challenge with accepting your flaws. But I want to hear, especially any of you who are being challenged with the flaw, a quote unquote flaw. I would like to hear from you. So I'm going to open the seats up. And if you have something you'd like to share, you have something you want to say, please come. Please know, let's be respectful. This is a safe space, so this could be a very vulnerable and very touchy thing for people. So please know that we're not going to be judging or anything like that. I just want you to have an opportunity to come and speak and share your heart. So let me open some seats here.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me very well?
Hey, Danielle, I can hear you and I can see you.
Perfect, because I did another blab and they couldn't hear me. It's storming here.
So oh, wow.
I hope people can hear me. I'm in Hampton Roads, Virginia. And we have the remnants of this hurricane-ish mess, wind, rain, all that fun stuff. So I just wanted to make sure you could hear me before I start chopping away, and then it's like a bad connection.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I have one more person that wants to join in.
Okay.
And then we'll go right back to you.
Hi, Mary.
Hey, Mary. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. I hope y'all don't see my tears, but oh my gosh, this was powerful.
Oh, love. Oh, love. Don't look. This is a safe space to cry. I am a teacher of crying. So whatever you need to do, if we can all get a Kleenex together, we'll be there together. Okay? So I want to give, am I saying your name right? Danielle?
Yep. Danielle.
Okay. I want to give the floor right now, and then we'll come to Mary. And if you have anything like as she's talking that you want to add into there, please feel free to jump in. But I want to give you your chance also to share what you want to say as well.
Well, first I want to thank you for sharing your story with us. And you're doing a great job on your first blab. I couldn't tell your first time because you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
My story is unique. I think recently my thing has been just accepting that I can't do everything. I have the superwoman complex, and I take on a lot. And that's led me to having a heart attack about a little over a year ago. I had a heart attack, and that made me reflect on life, similar to your story, thinking about how life is fragile and there was a chance that I couldn't be here, and I needed to make some better decisions and live more authentically, because I think for me, I came from a teen mother who struggled, and my whole life I wanted to not be in struggle, but by not wanting to be in struggle, I was consistently in struggle. Trying to do better, achieve more, have a better life, because I was a teen mother too. So what I was always hearing in my head is, you're going to be just like your mama. You're going to struggle. You're not going to be successful. And that stayed in my head. So I was constantly in war with myself to not be that person. So I'm going to college, I'm getting a degree, I'm starting a business, I'm going to go above and beyond to prove that, no, my story is going to be different. And I have had some positive moments from it, but also it's been stressful. And I have to remind myself daily that it's okay. I'm not Superwoman. I can't be everything to everybody. And it's not expected of me to be everything to everybody. So I know my thing is being an overachiever and balancing life and making sure that I'm present in the moment. So that's kind of my flaw. Just slow down, Danielle. Chill out.
Yeah, thank you, one, for sharing that, because I know so many people out there want to raise their hand and say, yes, I have that testimony too. I know for me that initially growing up as an only child and also growing up as a gay child, so I hid a lot of things. And so one of the things that led to was this belief that I was on my own and I had to do everything on my own. And it led to so much stress, and it led to so much non-enjoyment of my life. And part of the thing that I learned about loving ourselves in my journey was loving myself actually means that I allow myself to be helped when I need it.
Yep.
And not just when I need it, but when I want it to. Right? Because there's one thing when the shit hits the fan and I need the help.
Yep. And
it's another thing when I want it, when I just don't want to be stressed today, or I just don't want to do much. And can I allow myself to ask for help? And knowing that asking for help is one of the most powerful things that I can do, because it enhances my life and allows more things to manifest from my life, because I'm not in the energy of stress all the time, right? And I love our bodies because, I'm a medical intuitive, so I work with people to help them hear what the message their body is sending to them through the status of their health from their soul. Mm-hmm. And I love bodies because that's when we have things like heart attacks and my situation and near-death, moments or nearly dying moments, mm-hmm. They're a huge wake-up call. And usually the wake-up call in the health situation is almost always, it's time to love yourself.
Yeah. I agree.
It's just time to take a deeper dive
mm-hmm.
into loving yourself and figuring out what that is. So I want to, and to also know, this was another thing I want people to know, because there's so many people talking about loving yourself out there and not talking about this aspect of it. That loving yourself does not always feel like a high, especially in the beginning.
Definitely.
Because what loving yourself is asking you for, what your soul is asking you for, is to step outside of that conditioning that you so beautifully talked about, mm-hmm. right? And that presses buttons. Mm-hmm. And that can be really scary, yes. To ask for help when you've had a lifetime of doing things on your own, mm-hmm. To, take a break when you're used to getting a lot of things done. Like, that can be like, that practice of it mm-hmm. doesn't always feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. But the result of it always feels good. The result always does, but the practice of it does not. Whereas our toxic behaviors of not asking for help, of, you know, beating ourselves up or thinking there's something wrong with us, that can feel comfortable because it's the usual thing that we do, but the result of it always feels bad. So that's kind of a difference I really like to help people understand is when you make the commitment to first loving yourself more, which everybody, I mean, your life, nothing will work well in your life until you finally do that.
Definitely.
Until you take the journey. But to know that it's not all cupcakes and cherries and roller coaster rides and you know, cotton candy at the fair.
Yeah.
It requires you to stand up for yourself, to speak your truth, to break habits, and to be more, and to put more healthy, affirming, loving habits, and not just habits, but thoughts and feelings. And so I just want to champion you for that. I know the journey, and 1 foot at a time, 1 day at a time.
Every single day you have to wake up and commit to it, because you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it today. I got to do it today. And sometimes it's every moment. It's not even in every minute. It's like every moment I have to remind myself, okay, Danielle, chill out. So
yes,
definitely.
Yes. I see a lot of people responding, you know, they're saying, yes, the process is the key. Stay on fire. You will not be consumed. Yes, I said not cotton candy and cupcakes. It's you commit to every moment. There's some great stuff coming in. So let's go to Mary real quick and tell me what's going on. What do you want to share?
Yeah, so I have always had I got this, I can handle this. And I believe because I've had that for so long, I didn't realize the weight that I had been placing on myself. And now I'm just ready to let it go and say, I can't be everything to everybody. What about me? Who's pouring into me? Why? Because I love to help people. And I'm the type of person, I will research the heck out of something just because I see someone needs help. But now that I need help, now that I'm doing what I do, it's like, where is everybody? So what I have realized that what I've started to do is realize that, one, God is here with me. And what he has shown to me is that he has my back. And that's all I need. I just need him and to be commune with him. And in the last, I would say 6 months, it's amazing. Like, I don't know how I even found you. I really don't. Like, he just led me here, literally. And then you said it was your first one. And then things that you've been saying, I'm a part of a group. Everything you've been saying has been aligning. So because now I'm open, I'm revealing, I'm authentic. I have a periscope and I'm just shedding it all, letting it all go. Why? Because now I can finally hear from God. I grew up in the church, have family members that are ministers, evangelists, whatever. No one ever said to me, hey, in order to hear God, you need to be authentically you. Don't look at the next person or the next person. When you go to church, it's not about the church. And yes, I know there's a relationship, but I never truly understood what that meant until this week. And so that's why I said, oh my gosh, this is like God sent. He is just leading me, like everything that when I look at my past, everything has kind of led me to where I am now. I didn't realize what it was doing, but that's what it was doing. My heart to serve was always a part of me, but I was hurt. So I was hiding. Now I'm shedding my skin. Now I'm open. I'm hearing from God for myself. It's amazing. And it's like I can feel the energy of others. And it's just everyone needs to feel this. So I'm just going to share whatever I learn with others because it is, yes, I'm an emotional person. So I'm crying. But these aren't cries for a pain. This is cries like, oh my gosh, I've been missing out all this time. But I know I wasn't really missing out. I had to go through what I'm going through now so that I can say to people, look, this is what I was going through. This is the other side. Yeah. So I'm never going to be the same. And I just thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, beloved, for that. You know, what you shared reminds me of one, I want to say something you said, you know, that can't be everything to everybody, which is absolutely true. But you can be everything to yourself.
Yes.
And that's the journey you're on right now, is learning how to become everything to you. Not do everything,
Right.
but just be the highest version and expression of love towards yourself, right? And then, you know, there was my path to experiencing the divine in all aspects. You know, I call the divine, God, universe, I have all kinds of names. But it reminds me of a quote. It was a Sufi proverb, I believe is what it says. I searched for God and found myself. And I searched for myself and found only God. Yeah. And that's what you find is when you really begin to take the journey inwards and love me, that what you'll find is this is where God has always lived. And you can hear it more clearly, and you can be guided by it more clearly. But it doesn't come until we take that journey right on in here. And you don't have to explain it to anybody. You don't have to have it validated or affirmed by anybody. You just have to take it, right? And some of us need larger wake-up calls. I'm glad you didn't have to have as large of a wake-up call as I had to have.
Yes, thank you, God.
To take it.
Yes.
But that's the call. That's always the call. The call is to come back home to God, if you will. Come back home to God. And to know that how you treat yourself is really how you're treating God, because you're the only representation of God in your life. Yes. You are the representation of it, the expression, the experience, as one of my good friends like to say, God with some skin on it. So that's kind of, you know, what you are. So I just champion you. I see your light, your energy. I see the healing journey ahead of you. Again, just like Danielle, 1 foot at a time, 1 day at a time. And that is totally okay to take the days, both of you. It's totally okay to take those days where you don't need to, you close the door, you order you some food, you get your Kleenex out. Yeah.
Right now, I'm not working for nobody on this Friday.
Yeah. You know, to take that time and to listen to the call of your soul and honor what it is that you need.
Yes. And
to honor what you
need. Mary, when you were talking, I was thinking for myself, I didn't appreciate the sunshine until I experienced the storm. So it's like I had to be in this significant storm to appreciate this sunlight and embrace it. So it's like I feel like we go through things so you can appreciate the other side. And your testimony wouldn't be the same if you weren't going through it. So you have to go through it to get to the other side to help other people. So you blessing other people through your experience. You bless me because I just feel it all up in here.
Beautiful, you guys. This is wonderful, wonderful stuff. I want to, for those of y'all just joining, we have about 15 more minutes. And if anybody wants to kind of grab into the seat, see the seat, it's an open seat there. If you all want to continue talking here, great. Thank you so much, Mary, for your space.
Thank you.
For your voice. Juicy. We have a juicy person here coming in. Hey, Leo, can you hear us? Can you see me? I see your picture there, but I don't hear you yet.
Still loading, I think.
Okay, while Leo is loading, we still have another seat if anybody wants to open up. Again, we're talking about, you know, the journey of not just embracing your flaws, but really coming into all of you, like embracing all of you as everything about you belongs here. It belongs in the light. It belongs to you. Therefore, it is beautiful. You know, I tell people all the time, if it's a part of you, then it's a part of God. And there is no part of God that does not belong fully in the light, and that is not whole, and is not part of the perfection of what is life. And so my scars, my journey, all of that is a part of the perfection of what is life for me. So I see Leo. Welcome, Leo. I want to give you a chance to before I even give you a chance to talk, I'm kind of super excited because this is the very friend that I was talking about in the beginning.
Hey, boo. Yeah. Hey. Yes, honey. How y'all doing? I am loving this. This is wonderful. I can relate to a lot of what you guys are saying, especially about ordering food and just cutting everybody off. I understand that. But no, I actually wanted to say that that particular weekend that he's talking about, it changed my life. It really did. And I actually remember saying to him in his house, I said, I'm gonna walk away from you, and this whole experience is completely different. And I did. I walked away completely different. And I'm now stepping into not only my own right, but my truth and my honesty. And it feels very good. I will admit it was very scary for me because for me, I never talked about my disability at all. I never talked about having cerebral palsy and, the things that go along with it. But I came home and I said, I have to do this because if I don't do it now, it'll never get done. And I'll always wear this weight of, you can't tell people, you got to hide who you are, and it's funny how when we hide who we are, there's other things that we hide too. And in that, all the other things that I've been hiding started to come out. Yeah. And I said, okay, this is good because like you were saying, Danielle, you can't save everybody, honey. You can only save yourself. And, when it came to Miss Mary, I understood her. I related to what she was saying. I was crying along with her, and Danielle, you were preaching today. You were doing it, honey. But I understood a lot of what they were saying. So I think this is fantastic.
So Leo, as I said earlier, I didn't know. As a matter of fact, I didn't know it was cerebral palsy until you left, and you began to you were going to write about it. I was like, wow, although you told me I could see what was happening at the gushing, I didn't even know it was cerebral palsy, right. And so. And you wrote I know one thing you did when you got back just a few days ago, you wrote this amazing blog where you just kind of came out and you took pictures of your legs in the wheelchair. And these are things you never did before. So can you talk to people out there who are, because I know there's many people out there that we're all hiding something. Right. They're keeping something from being completely in the light. It may be, and thank you, Danielle. I know you just
thank you, Danielle. She was awesome.
Beautiful story. Yeah, awesome experience, awesome insights. But there's people out there who are when you have something that you think makes you not enough, and you think it makes you weak or it makes you invaluable or undesirable in some way. It can be the most horrifying thing to think about revealing that.
Yeah.
So can you talk about your process? What happened? One, how did it feel? How did you get over that fear to actually reveal that and do that blog? That blog is power. Matter of fact, if you could even put the link to your blog in the comments down here. So
sure. I sure will. I will do it.
So that was really powerful. Also, how did it feel in the midst of doing it? And how did it feel after you put it out there and you told everybody?
Okay. Well, let me see. In the midst of doing, let me go to that first. In the midst of doing it, as I was writing it, I'm not gonna lie, as I started to write, my hands were shaking. My hands were doing this. I was on the verge of tears many, many times. I broke down quite a few times, actually. Because it was something that I just never revealed. It was scary. But the more I wrote about it, and when you read it, you'll kind of see that. I literally felt the shift, within me change. Taking the pictures for myself, I had never done that because I've always been self-conscious about my legs. I mean, I already got fat thighs. So I was like, oh, Lord. You're going to see thighs and legs and things of that. But when I did it, I was like, this is actually this is freeing to let this go, to let go of this pain and shame and anger and sadness associated with my disability. Because like you were saying about, your scars, You know, I always thought of myself as unattractive. I saw it as I'm unlovable, you know, and also I'm very gay. I'm not the one that's, you know, I don't hide, honey. I love my makeup and heels and things like that. So I was like, on top of that, I also had this going on. I'm like, oh God, what's really going on? But the more I did it, the more things started to change. And it really wasn't until people started to actually come to me and say, you know what, this changed my life because my husband has this, or, you know, or I have CP and I've gone through this too, you know, and thanks to you, I'm learning to live a more authentic, delicious, I'm gonna say juicy life, because now I can honestly say my life is juicy. I don't want to run away anymore from life, because my thing is this: self-love is not just I love myself. It's not just reading Ian Levon Zahn, putting down the book and saying, okay, well, my work is finished. I love myself now, you know, and losing 10 pounds. That's part of the journey. The real journey is getting down in there and wailing and moaning and crying and breaking some stuff and questioning everything that you've been taught. You know, because, you know, like Danielle was saying, I can relate to that. I'm not going to be like my parents. I'm going to be different. Baby, I'm just like my mother. Lock, stock, and barrel. And I love her to death. And I'm happy about that. Because I think if I weren't like her, I wouldn't have the strength that she has and has had. So for me, this was only the beginning of me opening up about my journey as a disabled man, as a gay man, as a Black man, and so many different things in this world, and knowing that I do matter and that I don't need validation from somebody else because I validate myself. And that's what self-love truly is.
Yeah, you know, one, I want to thank you for what you just shared. I want to thank you for the experience that we had last week, because it led to this. It also led to another awakening for me around like me taking a deeper dive into looking at like what's Jerome still hiding, and what do I need to bring to the light? And you know, we'll probably do another blab on that. But you know what you said is, I want to, you know, in the last few minutes, I want to touch on these two things. You know, one thing, Leo, that I know without a shadow of a doubt, and this is for everybody listening, is that when you begin to embrace your flaw and you stop fighting it, you stop hiding it, and you bring it into your heart, understanding it makes you, it's all a whole part of you, that's when it begins to be your superpower.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is like just what you were saying, like people started to say, oh my God, your blog healed me, or my husband has been doing this, or I was, and that has been, when I began to stop hiding and I came out, you know, there are a lot of people that sent me, you know, I just did something about, I showed my scars. I did a video, as a matter of fact, the first time when I actually showed my scars to the public. That was the first time I did a video on YouTube. And you would not imagine how many people from across the world that I don't even know these people, saw that, and they sent me messages and emails and saying how that video of me telling my story and doing that healed their life. And that's what we're here. This is what I don't think we all understand. When you fully be yourself, scars, flaws, and all, you heal somebody because you give somebody permission to do that. You don't know you don't get to decide who watches you.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's affected by you. And so that was the first thing. The second thing is, you know, I think when we begin to stand in the presence and say, I'm enough. I may want to be different, but I'm enough. This is enough. I may have wanted this to be, I may want to be over there or look that way, but how I look and how I am and what I have is enough. When you do that and you bring your whole self into the light and you're not hiding anymore, what I have found, and I work with clients, this in my own life, but also in many clients that I've worked with, when you finally step all of yourself into the light fully embraces you, and it begins to prove to you that that's where you've always belonged.
Exactly.
That's when life starts to get really delicious, and it doesn't take long. It starts to change like that.
Let me tell you, it took me no more than, I would say, not even 12 hours. And my life completely changed. And I mean everything from clientele to how I viewed myself, to my friends, to just being in my house. The energy just completely changed. And I was like, wow, I really am where I belong. I know that now because for years I ran. I ran from everything. If something got too hot or you hit a sensitive button with me, I would pack my stuff, okay, along with my Bichon Frise, and get my little scarf and be like, I'm out. Okay, I don't have time for this. I'm a diva.
Come on, Bichon Frise.
Okay, I don't have time for this, man. Ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, that was my attitude in life. I was like, well, ain't nobody got time for this mess. I'm leaving. But I realized now, I was like, wait a minute. What happened to me that weekend forced me to look at myself. And not just my disability, but everything in my life. And you said something to me that I hope I never forget. You said in that moment, and it was right before you left to go run an errand, you said to me, you've been running all your life. And the universe has been knocking on your door for years, but you refuse to answer it. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. You ain't talking about nothing. Baby, now I realize what you were saying. Now I get it because it's true. And now the universe is knocking. And now I'm ready. That's the point too. You have to be ready for the universe to answer your call. You know what I mean? You can't just, oh, I'm ready. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. If you still going around with married men and doing all those dirty, nasty things, you ain't ready, baby. You ain't ready. Okay, you got to do the work. Or the work will do you.
Say that. You know, okay, so it's coming time to close, but you know, I teared up after what you just said. I'm about to give you some Kleenex here in a minute. This is what I know. This is what I know for sure. For all of you here, the very wound you think you're holding, the very adversity that you think you have, the very thing that think you have to hide, will one day become the wisdom that you will be able to give your friends at their darkest moment that saves their life. This is what I know for sure. If you will walk through the healing path of your wounds, they will become wisdom that one day will save the people you love. That is what I know for sure. And okay, so before we're not doing ugly cry yet. We're gonna do that on the second.
Not today.
We'll do ugly cry on the second one. But for all of you all, thank you so much for being here on my first blab. Please continue to follow me. There's going to be many more. I told you I'm part of a challenge for this month, so there's going to be many more blabs. I've got some juicy stuff to talk about. You can also connect with me on Facebook. I am on my Facebook page every day. It's only me. And I'm the one commenting and responding and posting. I post videos and blogs and articles. My Facebook is facebook.com/Coach Jerome Braggs, COACH Jerome Braggs. I put it down here in the comments. And my Twitter is @Jerome Braggs. So let me put this right here in the comments real quick. Both my Facebook and my Twitter. So you can follow me. I think the next blab that I'm going to do is going to be, I think I'm going to do some live readings, actually. I know a lot of you all have, questions or challenges that you're wanting to work through. And I'd like to help you. This will be my chance to help you. We do one question readings. We won't do a whole 30-minute person reading. But if you have one question, you can have about anything in the world, relationships, finances, health. It could be about money. It could be about, peace of mind or spiritual or personal growth. It could be about moving. It's about, anything in the world that you want to talk about. We'll probably do a whole blab of just one-on-one personal readings and talking about how to connect more deeply with the wisdom of your soul. So for all of you all who attended, thank you so much. This was beautiful. Thank you, Leo, for sharing your story, being vulnerable and allowing me to talk about that.
Thank you for having me.
And, your healing is public now, baby. Get ready. It's out there. You can't take it back.
But I don't want to because it feels too good. It feels good. It feels refreshing, and it feels like finally I'm where I should have been a long time ago. But like someone said, you have to go through the storm to see the other side. And now that I'm seeing the other side, I love it.
Yeah, all is well. Welcome to the other side of that storm, love. For all of you out here, thank you so much for being here on my first Blab. You got some awesome comments, awesome questions. I will see you soon. Just keep a lookout for the schedule of the next Blab, and much, 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 much love. Bye.